Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Jaime and Fuego, returning for another Patreon review. Yes, this is a shout out to Brooke M, who was kind enough to be part of the process with, supporting the show and being rad status. So thank you so very much, Brooke. And this is a solo one, with yours truly, obviously. And this is discussing it's a stretch to even call it horror, but it is very darkly comedic in its own right. This is a 2015 film entitled Home Sweet Hell. Yeah, so you got the delightful little play on words going down for this one, and it's got some star power behind it, Katherine Heigl and also Patrick Wilson. And especially for me, seeing Patrick Wilson in kind of this derpy sort of situation that he is in, and playing somebody who's a little like Mormonish and more bumbling, as opposed to just a very strong, more pronounced character. Like for those who have seen Conjuring stuff and most of the horror work that he is probably a little bit more known for at this particular point with younger audiences, and for those who are just getting a little more acquainted with cinema. But so overall thoughts, as we always say, I definitely was not much about this movie, but I definitely did chuckle at some of the situational stuff that was going down. So you've got Patrick Wilson, and he is this furniture store owner, and you can tell he is in a marriage that is tough. And so it's Katherine Heigl essentially probably playing very much to how she actually is in real life, playing the character, as opposed to she has a little bit of a notoriety, as we were just mentioning off camera before. So she had her start on Grey's Anatomy, I believe, and then she wanted to segue into doing feature films more so than just be kind of stuck on television. And that is one thing that people do say, that it's not as easy to be transitional in that regard. Everybody can't be George Clooney, although I think that is even kind of a stereotype, because Clooney is not at this particular point. People migrate back and forth. Even look back at Bruce Willis starting on Moonlighting, for God's sake, and getting into it. But Patrick Wilson's in this tough marriage, and Heigl as his wife she's relegating the times when they have sex, she's putting it in in the planner calendar, and he doesn't seem that happy, but since she walks all over him, it's that sort of dynamic. And then he falls prey to, the name of the actress is eluding me at the moment, but she's, Jordana Brewster, I believe her name is. And she's from the Fast and the Furious films, and absolutely stunning woman. I've always just found her very, very beautiful, but also very talented in that regard. And she plays it up proper as this younger woman who comes in and completely alters the marriage dynamic, working at at Wilson's furniture store, starts having an affair with him. And that's where I don't want to veer into spoilers here as far as story and stuff like that goes, because the twist, so to speak, is very predictable. You kind of know that this woman is up to no good, and there is some sort of angle for why she just comes on so hard with, and then that's even a funny little joke there, with Patrick Wilson. But really, I will probably say that the standout as far as jumping into performances and the acting in this film specifically is the fact that Katherine Heigl is very convincing as this kind of monstrous woman who you start to unravel how messed up her very privileged childhood might have been, and why she is the way that she is, not just with her children, but with her husband and everything as well, and just how she conducts herself, the fact that she comes from money, the fact that she holds it over Patrick Wilson's head, that he would not be successful if not for the fact that he was married to this woman, and the esteem and the fortune of her family, aided with so much, from the private schools to getting the business started up and all those different things. So I could definitely just sympathize even with his wormishness alone, because he definitely does not have the power play. And it's there are some amusing scenes where he's trying to get in better shape once he starts, having the affair with Jordana Brewster's character. But this, in tone and in vibe, it's pitch black comedy, 100 friggin' percent, and it's very glossy in the way that it's made from a production standpoint and from a budgetary sense. It's definitely had money, and it has almost like a Stepford Wives, Smallville sort of vibe to this community that Patrick Wilson and Katherine Heigl's characters live in, and perfect lawns and just pleasantries with neighbors that you probably don't really like very much because of their dog, and that Heigl doesn't really hold back in those regards. But yeah, it has that very, very clean, very glossy sort of look to this rich community where they live in, and where a good chunk of it takes place. And then where we get to the segue of the grittierness of what does eventually go down, because there is once again, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to divulge twists of this movie, but it does ramp up and it does get into, I guess, borderline horror sort of vibes once again. But yeah, it just did not really bring too much new to the table in that regard. I feel like this is one that had a very generic script, and then it just tried to live on the star power of some of these leads that they put in it. It's very, one of my favorite dark comedies ever, okay? And I got vibes from Home Sweet Hell of this movie, but that it was trying to be that and not succeeding as well, unfortunately. That's a movie with Christian Slater, Jon Favreau. It's a Peter Berg-directed movie called Very Bad Things. That film is 100 times better than Home Sweet Hell, and most definitely just embodies the vibe that I feel like this one was going for much more, I don't want to say accurately, but maybe genuinely is the better way of putting it. There is, to delve into music really briefly, and I have to, because there is this song, it's their song, it's Catherine and Patrick Wilson's character's song, and they go back to it over and over and over. We hear it in the opening credits. I don't know if it was a real song, that sounds as old-timey, so to speak, as this one is, trying to do. But it's used ad nauseum in this film. You hear it over and over, and I know it's from a deliberate sort of standpoint because of the fact that if it represents this horrible relationship that Patrick Wilson is entrapped within, rock in a hard place 100%, then yeah, if you're going to be reminded of that song as a viewer constantly over and over throughout the film, it's like they achieve the annoyance that the song has grown to embody for his character specifically. And he's, the two leads are very solid, just to circle back to that with kind of final thoughts, so to speak. But it's really just the fact that I was not surprised in much of anything that transpired, although the ending, it does go for it in a certain regard that I appreciated, and so, props on that. But, the fact that you've got a little bit of an organized crime vibe, the fact that you have the squeaky clean, just rich suburban people who hate each other, it's all been done very often. And, when you bring something a little fresher in your take to the table, that's when you can stand apart. But this just felt relatively by the numbers, unfortunately. And even as I was watching it, I was like, oh, is Brooke trolling us, man? I mean, was that the vibe to just kind of, because some of our patrons, as much as we absolutely love you, there's definitely the occasion where we have suspected that, oh, you're just trying to get us to endure this film that you thought was so hilariously bad, so to speak. But then this movie's not terrible. It's just, seems ill-inspired. And so at the end of the day, I definitely, if you're a fan of these really dark comedies, but it's not of the bleak variety, it's just violence and craziness eventually besets the situation. And so it's definitely nothing that is gonna leave you just feeling like empty and messed up or something. Yeah, it is more so than anything trying to be funny, even if it doesn't always achieve and just doesn't feel as awesome as I think on paper this sort of situation and setup if you gave a little bit more attention to it. I don't know if the director even did anything else besides this when I was looking at the IMDb. So, bottom line, star power, uninspired script, and that's where, unfortunately, we are at for 2015's Home Sweet Hell. It is streaming on Hulu, I think, although you may need, like, a Starz or a Showtime or some sort of, like, premium subscription added on. But that's where I watched it, and once again, even if I was not over the moon for this film, we gotta thank Brooke M. so very much for having this request put in and for the support. It is significantly appreciated, absolutely. Cannot thank enough for those who, back the horror show, like Rad Status Peeps. And so, I've been Jaime and Fuego, and if you want to become a patron yourself, all of the information is in the description box below. Some of these stay Patreon exclusive, some of them migrate over to the main YouTube channel and are not just an unlisted sort of thing. So, I think we have over 100 videos on the Patreon now, so well over 100. So, yes, once again, thank you so very much, Brooke, and until next time, Freight fans, remember to stay scared.